With the untimely passing of Gunner Hansen, everyone's been talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I want to honor the man by talking about one of his lesser-known movies, and a personal favorite of mine, the 1995 sci-fi horror film, Mosquito. Director Gary Jones was a special effects artist who is part of a very talented group of independent filmmakers from Detroit: Josh Becker, Rob Tappert, Scott Spiegel, and Sam Raimi. Many of them worked together in movies like Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and Crime Wave. Jones was doing well for himself, but he wanted to transition from special effects to directing. He was a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, and after meeting Gunner Hansen, who played the original Leatherface, he told him that he always wanted to work with him. Jones put together a fake trailer for a movie called The Sportsman, in the hopes of getting some investors interested. If he was able to make it, he was going to get Hansen to star. The Sportsman never happened, but Jones didn't give up. He was a fan of giant monster movies, and realized that no one had ever made a giant mosquito movie. He loved Tremors, and wanted to make a movie like it. He wrote an ambitious script that revolved around bank robbers that would run into giant mosquitoes. The script originally started with a large bank heist, and ended with a massive shootout in a warehouse. Realizing the film would be too expensive, he retooled it. The new script was co-written with Tom Chaney, the writer, producer, and director of Wendigo, which was sold to Troma, and they changed the name to Frostbiter. Jones worked with Chaney on Wendigo, and brought him in to work on the movie that originally was titled Skeeters. In 1991, they began to look for investors. After some success, they hired many of the crew from The Carrier, another local production. While working in pre-production, one of the people they hired from The Carrier proved so insufferable, he was demoted and eventually fired. He moved out of Michigan and got a job working for New Line in California. Jones spent years trying to get funding, and finally, in 1993, he had enough that they could begin filming. While getting ready to shoot the movie, then titled Skeeters, they got word that a movie called Skeeter was being released by New Line. While there's no proof the guy that was fired from Skeeters stole the idea and took it to New Line, it is a very suspicious coincidence. Since they could no longer call it Skeeters, they changed the name to Blood Fever.
The little bastards get the fever. Blood fever.
Jones contacted Hansen with the perfect role: Earl, the leader in a family of bank robbers. They also hired Ron Ashton, the guitarist from the legendary rock band, The Stooges. He was another person brought over from The Carrier. Jones just finished working on the Jean-Claude Van Damme action movie, Hard Target, and in the summer of '93, they began filming Blood Fever in a local park in Detroit. It was an incredibly hot summer, and a few of the crew passed out from heat exhaustion. One of the producers, Richard Jacobson, owned a warehouse nearby, Jacobson Cast and Die. Part of their agreement was that they could use the space for up to a year to build their sets and film. Almost all the interiors were shot here. With his special effects background, Jones and his team built the giant mosquitoes. They had motors inside that would flap their wings. They had a gigantic pole called the Boom of Doom that they rigged the mosquitoes on with black piano wire. They also undercranked the camera to make the mosquitoes appear to be moving faster. The movie starts with an alien ship crashing in a swamp on Earth, and mosquitoes suck the blood of the alien, which causes them to mutate. Originally, this was going to be shown at the end, so the whole movie you'd have no idea why there were giant mosquitoes. The alien in the beginning was an homage to War of the Worlds. To save money, Jones reused a corpse he made for a previous film, Moontrap. The sewer system was giant painted cardboard cylinders. The main hub was built with chicken wire and plaster. The RV belonged to Gary Jones's mother, Patty, and was called the Patty Wagon. The RV that was flipped was a scale model. When the group's standing outside the flipped RV, there's a combination of things going on. The back of the RV is a wooden facade, and the underside was from the model that was filmed via forced perspective. The alien ship was also a model that was filmed with forced perspective. While filming some of the outdoor shots around the RV, they didn't have a monitor, so no one noticed the cameraman had his hand in the frame during one scene. By the time they noticed, it was too late to go back and fix. The volleyball scene was mostly the crew and their families, filling up the area to make it look crowded. The Watch It Jerk guy, who later was having sex in a tent, was a cameo from Josh Becker. Jake Jacobson, who Jones worked with on Moontrap, did the alien ship intro. Jones was a big fan of Ray Harryhausen, so he wanted to make sure to have some stop-motion mosquitoes. The most expensive shot in the film was the stock footage of a mosquito being born, which they purchased for $1,500. For the scenes where they had to blow up a mosquito, they set those to be filmed after lunch. They took all the leftovers and stuffed them in the rubber bodies, and blew them up. Since the interiors of the farmhouse were shot on a set, there was no basement. So when the actors had to walk downstairs, they just squatted while they were walking. The house was Tom Chaney's parents' place. The house they blew up was a model. They had an intern whose parents were on vacation, and he let them film the explosion in their backyard. The destroyed house was filmed in a dilapidated barn near the real house. The mosquito eggs were a matte painting done as an homage to Alien. They added a proper homage to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre by having Hansen pick up a chainsaw and saying,
"Man, I haven't handled one of these babies in 20 years. Feels good."
After 2 months of filming, principal photography was finished. They still had to shoot some second unit stuff, but the main shoot was done. They had a wrap party where many of the cast and crew gathered to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Gunner Hansen was there to provide a running live commentary on the film, and everyone was enamored. The folks that worked on the film had nothing but wonderful things to say about Hansen. He was a true gentle giant and an absolute professional. Even though he was huge and played one of the most memorable villains in movie history, all that faded after a few minutes of talking with him. On the first day of the shoot, there were 2 crew members that got there early. Hansen showed up and politely asked if there was a McDonald's nearby. They gave him directions, and after a few minutes, he returned with breakfast for himself and the 2 crew members. Stunned, one of them stood there. Hansen asked, "What's wrong?" "Leatherface just bought me an Egg McMuffin." Hansen laughed openly. And that's the kind of guy he was. Generous, friendly, and the furthest thing from the monsters he played. While working in post, they added a few things to jazz up the film. Some digital shots to make it look like there were more mosquitoes. They also had hand-drawn animations by Tom Sullivan, who did the animation of the inking of the Book of the Dead in The Evil Dead. After the filming and the post-work, it's estimated the film cost around $300,000. Not happy with the title of Blood Fever, they changed it again, this time to Night Swarm. Jones took the film to LA for a screening with potential distributors, and sent a copy to Hemdale, who were interested, but couldn't make the screening. None of the people at the screening were interested, but Hemdale was. Hemdale was a well-known distributor of B-movies, so Jones was happy with the prospect of them distributing the movie. They didn't like Night Swarm, so they changed the title to its final name, Mosquito. Hemdale bought the distribution rights, but unfortunately due to a lawsuit that they were currently involved in, the studio went bankrupt. Jones only received 1 check from them, which didn't even cover the production budget. The movie was supposed to get a theatrical release, but due to the lawsuit, it went direct-to-video and was buried on late-night cable. I first saw it on cable back in the late 90s, and loved it, despite my dislike of insects. Some of the digital shots look dated, but the practical mosquitoes still look good. While the movie wasn't the hit Jones was hoping for, he was thankful that it didn't end up in the VHS bargain bin, completely forgotten. The Detroit crew wanted to make a throwback to the old giant monster movies, and they succeeded. Plus, Jones got to work with a genuine horror icon. A movie doesn't have to be a drama to be a labor of love. Sometimes there's people who'd rather tell the touching story of giant mosquitoes that stick their proboscis in a naked girl's ass and drain their blood, which somehow makes their eyes explode.
If I wasn't having such a shitty day, I'd kill you right now.